Ladies and gentlemen, non-invasive content marketing has been adopted and fruitfully executed by several brands such as Coca-Cola, P&G, Virgin, Starbucks, GE, Kraft Foods, and so many more. Anyway, moving on to our next speaker, Mr. Rohit Kaul, who is a Global Head, Analyst Relations and Engagement Marketing at Wipro Limited. He drives executive communication and is responsible for the global positioning of Wipro through leadership, social media, online marketing, and influencer relationships. He's now going to step forward and talk to you all about real-time content marketing. Is it a myth or a reality? Please.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Am I audible? Yeah. Just for the change. So thanks a lot for having me here. And first of all, let me do a quick check of how many people really believe that content marketing is a myth, or real-time content marketing is a myth. Let me put it that way. Just a show of hands. It's hardly, I would say, one person out of 70, 80 odd people here. So that means a couple of percentage. So let's see. Till we finish the presentation, we'll figure out whether I've converted you or not converted you, and whether real-time marketing is, or real-time content marketing is really a myth or a reality. So I belong to a company which completely drives its marketing on content. Come to think of it, we are in a knowledge industry, and as the speaker just before me from TCS pointed out, it's what we put out for our clients in terms of thought leadership, which differentiates us from the others. When we say thought leadership, it's the research point of view. It is what I mean for the customers, not today, from 5 years from now. What is the future of the industry, etc., which actually drives a customer towards me. And if you really look at how Indian IT companies are today structured and how we are positioning ourselves, most of the Indian IT companies are moving up the value chain, which means that we are competing with the global consulting majors. And what that means, the quality of content and the regularity at which the content comes out is of prime importance to us. So what are the challenges right now? And again, I'm not going to make it mostly a IT kind of a pitch. I'll pick up examples from other industry, talk about what we have been doing in real-time content marketing. But first of all, let's put up a kind of a background on what is happening in the market and how the market is changing for all of us. There's a small video for that. really, this gives you an idea of what are we facing right now. There's a deluge of information out there. And if people thought that content is the king, I think content is no longer the king. Actually, the context is the king. More and more, it is important for marketers to be able to tune the content to the context which we are talking about. And before I came into the room, I just Googled a little bit about content marketing. And if you Google content marketing itself as a term, there, let me take a, anybody take a wild guess that how many search items came up? Anybody else? 832 million items on the web on content marketing. And we are having a seminar right now, so we're adding more. So, so out there is a lot of stuff. And for marketers, and especially if you really look at my domain, all of us are putting a lot of content out there. And so what differentiates me from somebody else? It's the context. And let's talk about what is happening over and above that. There are three trends which are actually defining what we saw in the video. And these three trends are, one, the first most important one is democratization of technology. So when I say democratization of technology is quite a jargon in a way, but what it means that today the devices that all of us have, and all of us are so addicted to the devices, are a core of our life today. And in next 5 to 6 years, what you will see, that they will become even more core to what our existence is. Today, and what is being predicted is by 2020, each connected person will have 6 connected devices attached to him. So there are 6 more devices that a person will be accessing as we go into the future. So it's a lot of devices, a lot of data which is being poured into a person. So again, what does it mean? So a lot of data aggregators which we are seeing are making their killing. Flipboards of the world, why are they doing well? They're doing well because of the fact they are able to cut the noise out of the real content which is coming in. And a lot of us need to do that kind of work when we process our content. The second one is emergence of millennials. And again, how many of you are born after 1980? Not a representative sample. I think there are more older people here in the room. So actually, millennials are the ones which are driving whatever is happening in this world right now. By 2020 or 2020, we expect around 45% of world population to be under 25. And how you buy, how you work on social, all these things are changing the way customers consume or how marketers have to create data, have to create content. So that is the second one. And the third one is the growth of social media, which again is kind of interlinked with the first two. But social media by itself is creating a social buyer today. And social commerce is more and more a reality rather than a myth again. People buy stuff on social media. You look at what somebody else has bought, share the views. Reviews are looked at. Most of us will be looking at reviews on for buying a car or anything which is of any worth. So there is a lot of things that we're putting in, a lot of effort which has been put up in terms of social media and making sure that social media becomes a primary source of how we are pushing out content. Going to the next slide. So what does a marketer need to become? I think there were publishers on our prior channel. And when I talked to my team, the first thing that I say to my team is that if somebody wants to read your content, ask yourself if you've created a content, if it's a good content or bad content, the only way to measure it is whether you will pay money yourself to consume that. And that is the role of a publisher. A publisher, I believe, is one of the toughest roles today. And a real-time marketer is nothing but a publisher. So what a publisher every day has to make sure is that the content is fresh, it is relevant, and that is what a marketer also needs to do. And that is why a marketer has to understand whether the content that he or she is producing, is it sellable? And first of all, ask that question to oneself, would it fetch you any money? And if the answer is true, the content can go up. The second one is, how do you create fresh content? And again, it is kind of linked to the first one. You need to understand that there are stories which are coming up. There are lots of stories. So real-time content marketing is a lot about catching trends. And there are examples which are there which talk about, and we can go to the examples directly as such. So one of the best examples of real-time content marketing would be Google. It's not real-time in that sense, but still. Since 1998, there have been around 1,000 odd doodles which have got created. And these doodles are nothing but an expression of Google as a brand. And what they have successfully managed to do over so many years is to subtly put up their sense of what a country means or a culture means to them. And they've beautifully done that. So for Google is a great example of creating real-time brands. Going to the next example. So I think there was an example which was put up regarding what happened in the Oreos Super Bowl slam dunk. And to give you a background of what happened there, and maybe most of you will be aware of it, what was important was how soon or how quickly the decision was taken. As soon as the lights went off in the Super Bowl, a picture was taken. In moments it was posted on the social media. There's a 15-member team curating the content which went into social media, and there was around 16,000 retweets which happened in no time. So this, if you really look at from a totality perspective, there was a large campaign which anyways Oreo was doing, which was worth around $7 million, but they did this for a fraction of a cost, and they were able to generate far more traction just by catching to a trend. Similarly, you were looking at what is happening with us in Amul. Amul is a great source of real-time marketing. If you look at the latest one which has come with Mr. Gandhi along with Arnab, it's a great one. If it will come 5 days from now, it wouldn't have made that much sense. But the fact that it came yesterday or the day before, it made all the sense because of the fact that it was timely. And again, coming back to the same thing that I talked about, that context is very important. Going ahead, again, another example of real-time marketing is what happened with FedEx, and we can show the video on FedEx. How do you socially, from a social perspective, manage the damage which might happen to your reputation in a real-time basis? So it's first of all, as the panel before me pointed out, it's very important to start monitoring the media. If you monitor the media, your response will be real time. And this is one great example of FedEx, where they managed to catch the folly which was happening in the market and the damage which was getting created to the brand, and they came up with the right solution at the right time. So this is a FedEx employee, and this is your television being delivered. This was a social media trending. It was trending on Twitter for a couple of days, but I think FedEx realized that this would, and what do you trust FedEx for? You trust FedEx for delivery. You trust FedEx for the work that they do, and you just give them the box, and you think that it's safe. It'll go to the place that it's supposed to be. So what happens to a brand like FedEx if something like this goes viral? It's catastrophic. But in case of FedEx, what they came up with very quickly was another which is quite remarkable. Is they understood the problem and quickly.
On behalf of all FedEx team members worldwide, I want to tell you that we are very disappointed to see the recent online video. FedEx sets high-performance standards for our team members, which is why our customers trust us to pick up and deliver almost 10 million packages a day around the globe. I want you to know that this situation is completely unacceptable to us, and this driver is no longer working for FedEx. I want to apologize to all of our customers for the actions of this individual.
Yep. So what is real time? That is the question which comes up again and again. Is real time a mere number of hours, a few hours, or real time a day? What is real time? And I think that is where the whole doubt about is real time myth or a reality comes about. Real time all depends on the severity or the kind of message that you're trying to drive to the market. Now, in case of FedEx, if they would have delayed the response by another few days, it would have been majorly impacting their reputation. But because they came up with an answer quickly, they were able to avoid the embarrassment which caused to their business. Now, in case of BP, which is the other one, it's an ongoing thing. It's not that if something like that happens, you have to communicate real time on a daily basis. You have to communicate real time on a base for more than 6 months or a year. In case of BP, they had to do it because for them, the reputation risk is much more and much longer. So that is why it is very crucial for them to create that kind of infrastructure so that they are able to respond to these kind of crises. So for a B2C brand, if you really look from a thumb rule perspective, for a B2C brand, it's very important to react fast. For a B2B brand, you have some time. And we are one of the B2B brands, so we always have a little bit of time. I would say that in the last 2 to 3 years, we picked up content marketing, digital marketing in a big way. And we're proud today that we have the largest followership among all our peers. When I say peers, all global as well as Indian peers in social media. We have crossed over 2 million across Twitter, Facebook, etc. What helped us was the fact that we made sure that the content was contextualized. And when I say content was contextualized, we looked at trends. Most of the content that you create as a strategy is that we created a strategy is 70% of the content which we create is always standardized. We know that it is going to come up, and there are some researches that we have done, and we will be pushing these researches out, and there are some events or there are some campaigns that we're doing. So that kind of content is always the regular bit of content. But 30% of the content that we take to market is real time. For example, in our industry, it's one of the industries that we deal with is mining. And last year, we had a comet which grazed the Earth's atmosphere. And we came with an interesting thought that why don't we write about it? Why don't we tie it up to the business that we are doing? So we created a series of content around that planet and how futuristically it is possible for us to mine on an asteroid. And really, that content really was a hit among our clients. Actually, we did an event around that concept, because it's not about that can you do mining on a asteroid. It's about the concept that what are the technologies which can enable that to happen. They might not be present there. They might not be in somewhere in future, but we discussed it with that. So again, real time for us is like that. So we have created a function in Wipro itself where we are looking at trends which are coming up, creating content around them, looking at the business objectives. It's very important, as the prior speakers also said, it's very important to understand what your company stands for. And from that only you can derive that what content you build up. So defining what you stand for is very important. The second most important thing is what are the right expectations that you have to build up with your stakeholders. So is there something which is coming again and again? In Twitter, we have seen that if you create a hashtag, you know that you have followers. We have around close to 200,000 followers on our Twitter handle. If you send them regular information using a particular hashtag, you know that, okay, this is something which is real time. So we have something called Daily Bytes, which comes in as a daily exercise, which talks about the new things which are happening around the world and how it impacts technology. And then the third and the last one is we have to stay in it long haul. We have been doing it for last, as I said, 2 to 3 years. And most of the engagement that we are drawing, and the biggest difference between what we are doing versus what others are doing is the fact that we are keeping the content fresh. And by saying we are keeping content fresh is by not talking technology, but talking all kinds of things, may it be what is happening around the world in different areas, and tagging it to technology and seeing how it can be applied. It makes for very good reading. So it's a very important to have a tight core, which is to understand what message you want to give, and have these loose peripheries where you pick up stories from different places and put them across as a part of your own business. So, so this was what I wanted to talk about, and really coming back to the question, is it content marketing real? I really feel that content marketing and real-time content marketing is really there. It's a question of how a brand believes and creates an ecosystem around it. In our case, we created an ecosystem around it, it's worked for us, but it's very important for any brand to stay long haul and make sure that you deliver compelling stories which break the clutter. As I said, there are 832 million odd conversations which are happening about this whole event. How do you break the clutter for this event? That's the question. Thanks a lot.